Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this video I'll be sharing with you a requested tutorial on how to cut this stylish neckline. So if this is something you like, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up. So let's dive right into today's video. So to start, here is my pattern and we are going to mark or work on the upper part of this dress to get the neckline. So this is the shoulder to bust, shoulder to under bust, and shoulder to waistline. The first measurement you need is your shoulder divided by 2. So my shoulder is 14 divided by 2, I have 7. Now I will come down by 1 inch from this point. After that, I'll go ahead to place my ruler and connect. After I'm done connecting, you want to go ahead to find your chest line or your armhole circumference, and to get that is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. Mine is 7. I made a mark on that point and I'm drawing out a straight line there. So after you're done marking this, you're going to go ahead and replace this measurement you have on the shoulder here. That is your shoulder divided by 2, and you're going to add ½ inch to your shoulder measurement because this dress has a sleeve. So go ahead to connect and you're going to place your tape, divide by 2 and mark. After marking, you're going to come in by ½ inch, and next you're going to mark your bust circumference divided by 4 here. My bust is 33 divided by 4, I have 8.3. Now you're going to connect from the upper part all the way to the armhole and down to the chest line. Go ahead and outline this. So after you're done, you want to mark your basic neckline of 3 inches and go ahead to connect to the shoulder. So for the depth, I'm using 1.5 inches because the neckline of this dress is actually high. But if you feel it's going to be too choky, go ahead to use 2 inches. But the neckline of the dress is very high. Now you want to start by marking your dart intake, and you're going to mark your nipple to nipple divided by 2. My nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2, I have 3.5. I marked it on the bust, on the under bust, and down to the waistline. So after I'm done marking this, you want to go ahead and mark your dart. So for this dart, you'll be marking a basic dart of 1 inch on both sides. So if you're a plus size, you should consider using 1.5 inches at both sides, or if you're a bit busty. So after this, I'll go ahead and place my ruler and I will draw out a straight line on this point. So after I'm done doing this, you want to place your your ruler, and you're going to connect from the bust to the under bust, and also go ahead to repeat this at the other side of your pattern. After you're done marking this, go ahead and use your marker to outline this to make it more visible. After I'm done connecting my pattern, the next step I'm going to take is to come up by 1.5 inches, 2 inches or 2.5, depending on where you want your bustier pattern to start. So I'm going to use 1.5 inches because I prefer that measurement. So this is not really a standard. You can go ahead and use what you want. So go back and mark your nipple to nipple divided by 2, and you're going to go ahead to connect. Now I'll be taking my dart intake of 1 inch on both sides. If you're a plus size, you can take 1.5 inches on both sides, or you can mark 1 inch at the center and 2 inches at the other side of your pattern because your bust is actually fuller by this side. So after this, I'll go ahead to connect, and now I'll start marking my measurements. I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4, measure this dart intake, replace and add my sewing allowance. Mark my under bust circumference divided by 4, and after I'm done marking that, I'll measure the dart intake, replace it and add my sewing allowance. Here I'll go ahead to mark my waist circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, and I will go ahead to replace it and add my sewing allowance. So after this, I'll go ahead and connect from the under bust to the bust and down to my waistline. So this is what my pattern looks like. The next step is to go ahead to mark your bust dart. If you don't want to use a bust dart, you can leave it this way, but I'm going to be using a bust dart for mine. So you can go ahead and measure or mark your bust dart, and to get that is the distance between your shoulder to waist in front and shoulder to waist at the back. My shoulder to waist in front is 17 inches. My shoulder to waist at the back is 15.5. So 17 minus 15.5, you have 1.5 inches. So I'll just go ahead and connect this to the bust line and I'll mark. So you're going to be cutting this out or blend it out before cutting out your pattern. So all these measurements I have here now, I'll be transferring it to the other side of my pattern. So after I'm done marking this is what I have on this part of my pattern, and I'll go ahead to fold this back again. So now we are going to draw out the neckline. So I'll just come down by 1/2 inch here because there's a little curve on the pattern, and I'll go ahead to extend this all the way up, and from here I'll be extending it all the way to the armhole, and I'll blend it off here. So this is what I have for my pattern, and I'll go ahead to use my marker to outline. So after I'm done cutting or marking this out, now we are going to work on the upper part of this dress. But before doing that, go ahead to repeat this same measurement. So I'll just lift my pattern a little and follow the mark that I have on this side. So I'll open this now, and we are going to work on the upper part of this dress. So I'll be marking immediately where my bustier joining will start. So I'll place my tape and I'll tilt it a bit, so you can come up by 3.54 inches depending on what you have at the upper part. And from this part I'll place and connect it to that side. So you want to at least leave a little space on top because you're going to be gathering this part of your neckline. So mine is shorter. What I have from my shoulder to the remaining part of the yoke is shorter, so I'm using about 4 inches on this side. So after cleaning up the mistake, I'll just go ahead and blend back my pattern together. So if you have any question regarding this pattern, you can also go ahead and ask your question. So I'll just go ahead and blend this part out now, and after this I'm going to go ahead to cut this out. So another point I want to make is that make sure you have enough space at that point so that when you gather it, you're going to have a ruched effect at the neckline.
She got my back, I'm happy that say everything I do is for my woman. Anything I talk, where you talk, I go do. So
now after you're done cutting your pattern, let's say you go ahead and sew your dress, that is join up your bustier, join up your yoke together. So after you're done sewing your dress, that is when you're actually going to work on the neckline. So let's say I'm done joining my bustier pattern now. What you do is to get a matching thread and you're going to tack this down like as if you're draping it. You're going to tack the neckline down. So I'm using a pattern paper. If I drag it much, it's going to tear. So by the time you drag it, you're going to have that effect on the neckline this way. So I'm going to go ahead and use a tape to hold mine so that you see the effect on the neckline. So you're going to use your needle and thread and you sew like a gather stitch, just like you're gathering a dress or you're draping a dress. Then you now tack it down very well. Tack it down so it will be giving you this gathered effect from this side of the neckline. So this is how it will be looking when you're done sewing. So if you have any question, you can also go ahead to ask.